everyone, this is Peggy for Cropstop.com, and today I'd like to show you how I use my distress inks, a little bit of cardstock, and some water to get this really awesome flower. Can you believe? Let's see if the camera can get real close. It almost looks like leathery. I love texture. Now let me show you some of the things that we're going to use to do this. The first thing we're going to use is one of the newer Tim Holtz Alteration Sizzix die cuts. This can be used right in your Cricut. Not your Cricut, in your Cuttlebug. I've been using my Cricut a lot lately. In your Cuttlebug, and the way you do that, this takes the place of your C plate and use two B plates, and you can cut right through there. So it is an awesome die cut. And there's 4 different flowers on there. We're going to use several distress inks. These are some of the newer ones. The Wild Honey, Tumbled Glass, the Bundled Sage, Rusty Hinge, and I'm really liking this Pumice Stone. Then the other thing we will use is, again, Tim Holtz. He must be the star tonight. Tim Holtz new burlap embossing folder. I always make a little cardstock and put in there, but he had these nice little colored ones that show you the texture. So we're going to be using that for our backdrop. And then I used a little bit of grunge board. And then I used one of my Nestabilities tag dies. Now let's get started. Now this is a very messy technique, as you'll see my fingers are looking pretty cruddy here, but it is so cool. The first thing I'm going to do is to take my distress inks and put them right on my craft mat. These are just awesome. And I'm using 3 colors here. We're going to use that blue, which is called Tumbled Glass, the Wild Honey, and the Rusty Hinge. There we go. Now the thing I can tell you about this, when you do this technique, none of your flowers are going to be the same every time. So don't be discouraged if your colors aren't exactly like mine. And of course you can use any of the colors. Then you're going to squirt each one, 2 or 3 times. There we go. And I'm just using a little water mini mister from Ranger. It's just plain old water. And then we're going to put this one over here and you just rub it around. And this is why your hands get all yucky. So there's my first color, and then I set it off to the side. This one I put in the blue and just rub it around. Now I kind of mix them all up because sometimes I really like the way the color turns out the first time around and sometimes I don't. So we'll let that one dry a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is hit it with a heat gun, so that'll make a difference. Alright, that one turned out pretty good. Then, I know this sounds really strange, I just start mixing up my colors. And that's how I get that kind of rusty color. And you know, I think I might add a smidgen of green. I don't know if this green will work or not. Let's put a little bit of that green on there. That's what's fun about this. You can just keep adding to it. I think I need a little of that on there to give it another little... Yeah, that's looking good. Look at that. Now that might not look too much to you, but when that dries, it is going to be awesome. And I did the same thing to the other ones. I just put different colors on them. That's why I'm saying each one will look a little bit different. And that's why your fingers get so messy. Now normally, in an everyday situation here, I would not let this ink go to waste on my mat. Well, this is going to be, we need some more blue, I think. Put a little bit up there. I would bring in other paper and just, yeah, that helped. I needed the center to be a little darker. Okay, so normally what I would do is to take a hunk of paper out of my scrap box. There we go. And I would just color this all in because I don't like to waste anything. And this will go into my stash. And then I can either use a die cut or I can stamp right on this. I can Cuttlebug it and it will be really cool. I mean, that's going to be really awesome as a background for something. I'll try and do that next time, and when I do a video I'll show you what it looked like. Let me clean up my mess here and dry these flowers with my heat gun so we can carry on. Now what I'm going to do before I dry these, I'm going to just crinkle them a little bit. And depending on the quality of your paper, sometimes you can crinkle really good, and other times you have to be a little careful so you don't tear it. So it really depends on the weight of paper you use. We'll crinkle that up a little bit more. And that's what gives it that leathery kind of look. You just crinkle them like that. No big science project there. And then I'm going to dry them real quick. There we go. I think that should work. And then what I like to do is to bring in my distress inks using one of the foam applicators, and I like to just add a little to the edges. It's all about dimension, you know, and that extra little depth that you get. You can see how different, let me bring it back in, how different this is going to look from the one that I started with. But that's what it's all about. Let's see what to do. There's the lid to that one. I think I might just add a little more blue on this one direct to give it that little bit of a tealy blue color. There we go. So there's our flower. I think I will add a little bit of this on there because I really am liking this color. That looks pretty cool. Gives it some more lines. Now the trick, I might put a little bit too much on that one. That'll work. Now we're going to work now on this background, and that's again using the Tim Holtz burlap. And here's a little trick that I learned. Let's see which color I've got here. When I started working with these, if you go directly on, and I'll show you because I can mess this up, if I ink up my sponge and I go directly on, I get it really, really heavy. Well, as you can tell, I didn't want it really, really heavy. So the trick is, if you ink up your little sponge and you start off the edge, then you can come and you can get shaded. It'll be, it'll be a little more shaded. Does that kind of make sense? So that you're not getting that direct on, because once it's there, girls, it is there. And then I love, as I said, this new color here. Where's my little ink thing? This pumice. It just is a really cool, it makes it look more like burlap. Do you see how I kind of come in from the side? That way I don't really blop it really hard there. And then I like to really do my edges. And of course you could do your ink pad directly to paper, but I'm not going to do that. There we are. Okay, there's that one. So that's the new pumice stone. Now all of these you can get over at Crop Stop, so don't worry about that. Now let me show you the other couple little things that I did here. Using my Nestabilities, I stamped my sentiment on there and I just put lots of hugs. And then I love this sage. I guess I've said I love them all, but you know, I really do like the distress inks. You'll do the same thing here if you start off the edge and you start just coloring in. Oops, flipped her over there. So that you get different shading. I don't know if you can see that real well on the camera, but it doesn't just look green. It gives you those shades. And you just stamp your little sentiment right in there. And then the last thing I did, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, and this is a scrap, but I wanted to show you on here, this is Grunge Board. It's also a product by Ranger. And this one has already been embossed. It comes that way. And like I said, this is just a scrap. So what I did with this was just took the green, inked up my little sponge really well, and just colored it. And that gives me my dimension for my vine and my leaves for my flower. So there you are. So if you just do that on the Grunge board, you'll get this look right here. Then all I did was put my flowers together, glued them together, stuck a button in the center, and I have a little twine knot there that I can stick right in the center. Let me just stick those together. How's that sound so you can really see better? Here we are. And I normally would use a pop dot for that button, but for time's sake, we'll just use that because it will hold. I don't think I can get this to hold. Let me see if I can make my own little pop dot here. Sometimes I can pull that off, sometimes I can't. So we'll put a little bit of goop right there in the center, along with the little knot. And there is your flower, along with my dirty fingers from the ink. So girls, if you are worried about those lovely fingernails I see everybody have and getting your hands, you could obviously wear plastic gloves. I never do. So there you are. That's how I use my distress inks along with paper and a little bit of water to get this really awesome flower. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Have a great one, and make sure to check over at cropstop.com for all the supplies needed to do this project. Have a great day. Bye!